Jimmy Garoppolo could hold off Trey Lance a lot longer than I think people are kind of anticipating. We're talking about a dude who is a one-year starter.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
My take all along with this is like, there will actually probably be more passing volume around when Jimmy Garoppolo is there for guys like Brandon Aiyuk and George Kittle and Deebo Sameul. But I think the offense will be more efficient. We'll score more touchdowns, but will be more dangerous with Trey Lance back there. And like, Trey Lance is also going to get on the field too. I think that I do kind of buy into this idea that they might run a little 2-quarterback system at some point here.
My one thing about Trey Lance, and I feel like I'm on an island with this, but we're talking about a dude who is a one-year starter, and that year did not come last year. That year came 2 years ago, and he is a one-year starter. He played one game last year before being drafted 3rd overall, and I get it. He is everyone says he's an absolute workhorse when it comes to studying games and game plans and the playbook and all those, and those are all great reports. But preparation, while it does help you on the field on Sundays, it's not everything. You need to see some live game action. And what I saw in the preseason, it's like, I don't know what I saw, like, I'm not sure I saw. It's not like Justin Fields. Like, you saw Justin Fields and you're like, dude, this kid can play. Fantasy Twitter want to love this guy. They need to love this guy. And I'm sitting over here saying, like, do we remember Mitch Trubisky? A one-year starter, limited experience, and I get, and the reports weren't as glowing about him working as hard, in the offseason, but still, I'm just saying, like, let's just pump the brakes a little bit. It's not like Trey Lance has a special arm. It's not like he's Patrick Mahomes back there. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's just a little, but he is mobile. And that's what we get excited about in fantasy, is that he can move and do all those things. But I'm just saying, like, I just want to pump the brakes just a bit.
I'm in on the hype train for Trey Lance, but I also do think that there could be a scenario where this is Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith, at least from we're going to let Jimmy Garoppolo play out the year if he plays well, but we're going to Trey Lance in 2022. If you're picking Trey Lance in a 1-quarterback league, I think Fields will probably see the field. It's going to be so hard. Like, let's just get him to start so we can stop saying that. I think Fields will play before Trey Lance plays, basically, is the 100%. Way that I think about it.
100%. And he's also, by the way, he's also more game ready. I think that much is clear to me. I don't think, at least from a redraft perspective, like, there's no, come draft day anyways, no one really cares about either one of these quarterbacks, right? If you're in a super flex, different story. If you're playing dynasty, different story. If you have a large bench, different story. But single quarterback, standard redraft league, like, no, I don't think anyone cares about these Niner quarterbacks. Okay, but the reason you care is because of the pass catchers. Brandon Aiyuk, George Kittle, Deebo Sameul, these are all guys that are going, relatively early, certainly all within single digits. George Kittle, Brandon Aiyuk, definitely, are high-profile picks right now. So if you have those guys, who would you prefer? Because we know in New England, if you had Jacoby Myers, if you had the foresight to draft Jacoby Myers, you're like, my God, please let it be Mac Jones. What do we think in San Francisco? Who would you prefer to see starting here in San Francisco with those pass catchers?
I'm going to take the total cop-out answer, dude, and I'm going to say I don't really care. Because and because I think both can be a boost to the players. Well, at least Kittle and Aiyuk. I mean, with Samuel, you probably want a more voluminous passing attack because he's not going to see downfield upside, or he's not going to see downfield targets, anything like that. So I guess with Samuel, you want Jimmy Garoppolo out there. But for Aiyuk and for Kittle, number one, Kittle is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. I do think, to answer Brokemind's question here, I think Aiyuk limits – they both limit each other's upside, right? Because if one wasn't there, they'd get a bulk of targets. But I think that Aiyuk is going to limit the ceiling of George Kittle, just like George Kittle is going to limit the ceiling of Brandon Aiyuk. With Jimmy Garoppolo, there's going to be more passing volume. That's for sure. I would project them for more pass attempts with Jimmy Garoppolo than I would with Trey Lance. But I would also expect the offense to be, again, more dangerous, more efficient, like more trips to the red zone, the end zone with Trey Lance, because even if Trey Lance isn't totally ready, like some of that stuff that like they were dialing up with Trey Lance in terms of like option and stuff like that, like the handoffs and quarterback keepers and all that type of stuff, Trey Lance is going to run that really well. And I think that's going to keep the offense moving and keep like, keep throwing some, they're going to make the defense think, which is going to open up things for other players, but it's going to severely limit the volume for guys like Kittle and for Aiyuk.
I'll throw out some stats here and then kind of give my take on it all. But San Francisco was 17th overall, so about league average in terms of total pass attempts. They had the 7th most targets to the tight end position, though, regardless, and the 7th fewest total targets to wide receivers, to kind of sort of give you an idea of what that offense kind of sort of looked like last year. Although, again, lot of asterisks, right? Because it's kind of like a lot of injuries. Quarterback was an absolute dumpster fire last year. I guess my overall thought, though, is this. There's not a ton of depth behind either one of those players, right? Like Brandon Aiyuk is clearly the dominant X receiver in that pass catching group, and George Kittle is just an absolute special player at tight end. So the question to me becomes like, like I get it. Let's say San Francisco even if San Francisco's bottom 10 in total pass attempts, like I don't even know if I care, because you're telling me an NFL offense can't support one receiver and one tight end? Yes, they absolutely can. And so for me, it's like, listen, like I could say George Kittle's going to see 120 targets. I can still then also say Brandon Aiyuk is going to see 120 targets. You see what I'm saying? Because I mean, we're still at just 240. I mean, we're still at just 240. I mean, there's still so much meat on the bone left. When you're asking me, does Kittle limit Aiyuk or does Aiyuk limit? I don't think either one limits either one. I think what ends up happening is that Deebo Sameul is kind of sort of the receiver left out in the cold.
I agree,
But hopefully they figure out ways to manufacture touches for him, whether it's, again, in the passing game, let's say he sees 100 targets in the passing game. Can they manufacture 10 to 15, backfield touches for him? Very, very possible. I think that's very, very possible too. So that would be my overall thought in terms of those in terms of that pass catching group in San Francisco. And dude, let's be real. Kyle Shanahan's a freaking genius when it comes to offense.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I'll invest in that. I'll invest in that all day.